New York City shouldn't have worked. It wasn't the capital of a mighty empire. It wasn't the oldest European settlement in North America. It wasn't even the biggest city when it began. It was just a small, muddy settlement on the edge of a vast wilderness. So how did it become one of the most powerful cities on Earth? The answer isn't just skyscrapers, or Wall Street, or money. It's a story of geography, second chances, and millions of ordinary people. From the people who were born here, to those forced onto its shores, to those who crossed oceans with nothing but hope. They transformed a tiny trading post into one of the world's greatest cities. This is the story of New York, a city that kept growing because it kept giving people a reason to believe tomorrow could be better than today. Long before there was New York, there was one extraordinary harbor. Look at the eastern coast of North America, near the mouth of the Hudson River. The coastline opens into a deep, sheltered harbor. Large ships could anchor safely before traveling farther inland through the river system. Long before Europeans arrived, the Lenape people had lived across this region for thousands of years. They hunted in these forests, fished these waters, and traded with neighboring communities using the rivers as natural highways. This wasn't empty land waiting to be discovered. It was already someone's home. When Dutch explorers arrived in the early 1600s, they weren't looking for a place to settle forever. They were looking for a paycheck. Specifically, furs. They quickly realized this harbor could connect Europe with the rich interior of North America. That single advantage would change history. The Dutch West India Company established a small settlement here in 1624. They called it New Amsterdam. At first, it barely looked like a city. A handful of wooden houses, simple docks, dirt roads that turned to mud whenever it rained. Compared with Europe's great cities, it was almost insignificant. But every ship that sailed into the harbor made the settlement more valuable. Furs went east. Tools, supplies, and new settlers came west. Trade created jobs. Jobs attracted people. People created businesses. Without anyone planning it, the town kept getting bigger. Then, in 1664, 4 English warships sailed into the harbor. The Dutch governor wanted to fight. Many merchants didn't. A battle would destroy the very thing that made the town valuable. So New Amsterdam surrendered without a major battle. The English renamed it New York. The flag changed, the rulers changed, but the harbor stayed exactly where it had always been. And that turned out to matter far more than who was in charge, because while governments came and went, the city kept doing what it did best: trading, building, growing. The flag over the harbor had changed, but the sound of the city hadn't. The hammers kept swinging, the saws kept cutting, the docks kept growing. Cities aren't built by maps, they're built by people. Imagine walking through early New York. Axes echo through the forests. Ships unload timber onto crowded docks. Carpenters raise wooden homes one beam at a time. Blacksmiths hammer glowing iron beneath clouds of smoke. Everywhere, someone is building. Some came willingly. Carpenters, stonemasons, sailors, dock workers. Others had no choice. Beginning in the 1620s, the Dutch brought enslaved Africans to New Amsterdam. Many were forced to build roads, fortifications, public buildings, and farms that helped the settlement survive. The city was quite literally built on their backs. Yet for generations, their stories received far less attention than they deserved. As New York grew, people arrived from different countries bringing different languages, traditions, and beliefs. What began as a tiny trading settlement slowly became one of the most diverse places in North America. That diversity gave New York its soul. But becoming a great port wasn't enough. By the early 1800s, New York faced one enormous problem. It was separated from America's growing interior by mountains and wilderness. If the city wanted to become something greater, it first had to find a way through. By the early 1800s, America was expanding rapidly. Farmers were growing more crops than ever before. Forests supplied timber. Mines produced valuable resources, but moving those goods to the coast was painfully slow. Then, New York proposed something that sounded almost impossible. Dig a canal across the state, connecting the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. Many people laughed. They nicknamed it Clinton's Ditch. Critics didn't just laugh. Some believed the governor had completely lost his mind. They were about to witness the impossible. Think about what they were trying to do. This was an age of horses, shovels, and hand tools. Yet they planned to dig more than 360 miles through forests, rock, rivers, and swamps. Thousands of laborers went to work. Many were recent immigrants, especially Irish workers looking for a better future. The work was exhausting. Accidents were common. Disease spread through crowded camps. Some workers never lived to see the canal finished, but in 1825, the Erie Canal opened, and almost overnight, everything changed. Imagine you're a farmer hundreds of miles inland. Before the canal, getting your crops to the coast took weeks of backbreaking travel. After the canal, the journey took only days and cost a fraction of what it once had. Suddenly, everyone wanted to trade through New York. Ships filled the harbor, warehouses expanded, banks grew larger, factories hired thousands of workers. The city didn't just become bigger, it became the gateway between the Atlantic Ocean and the rapidly growing American interior. And once opportunity started flowing into New York, people followed by the millions. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, millions of immigrants crossed the Atlantic, hoping to build a better life. For many, New York was the first place they ever saw in America. Imagine standing on the deck of a crowded steamship just before sunrise. The morning fog begins to lift. A skyline slowly appears. Passengers rush toward the railing. Some smile, some cry, some stand in complete silence. Everything they own fits inside one small suitcase. Beginning in 1892, millions passed through Ellis Island. Some opened bakeries, others became tailors. Some built bridges, others dug subway tunnels beneath busy streets. Walk through New York around 1905. Streetcars rattle past. Newsboys shout the morning headlines. Fresh bread drifts from neighborhood bakeries. Pushcarts crowd the sidewalks. You hear Italian, German, Yiddish, Irish accents, and dozens of other languages. Children speak one language at home and another at school. Entire neighborhoods begin taking shape. Different cultures, different traditions, one city. New York's greatest resource wasn't gold. It wasn't farmland. It wasn't even the harbor anymore. It was people. People willing to work, to take risks, to begin again. The city had become the capital of millions of dreams. But its growing importance also meant its greatest challenges were still ahead. Success didn't protect New York from hardship. Again and again, the city was tested. Fires destroyed neighborhoods. Disease spread through crowded streets. Economic crashes left thousands without work. Then came the Great Depression. Even during those difficult years, New York kept building. The Empire State Building rose into the sky as a symbol of hope when many believed hope was running out. Then came September 11th, 2001. The attacks on the World Trade Center claimed nearly 3,000 lives. The skyline changed forever. Families were devastated. The entire world watched. For a moment, it felt as though New York itself had been brought to its knees. But the city did what it had always done. It stood back up. It rebuilt. Not because rebuilding erased the pain, but because resilience had become part of New York's identity. Generation after generation, its people refused to let tragedy have the final word. So why did New York become one of the world's greatest cities? Not because a king chose it, not because history guaranteed it. Geography opened the door, trade created opportunity, and generation after generation, ordinary people walked through that door. The Lenape who first knew these rivers, the enslaved Africans whose forced labor helped build the early city, the immigrants who crossed oceans chasing hope, the workers who dug canals, raised bridges, built skyscrapers and rebuilt the city whenever disaster struck. Some cities are remembered because rulers built them. New York is remembered because millions of strangers believed they could build a better life there. And together, they built one of the most remarkable cities the world has ever known.